Alright, so on the menu today is talking about water. Yes, the rain. It makes it so we don't even have to grow our own garden. It does it for us. Amazing. So we're going to go to the all around health page where I have a post on water, and pretty much everything I've found on water I'm going to show you guys. And yes, I did find this article again finally. Researchers reveal the internal dance of water. I just typed fizzle.com water dance and we'll go check this out too. But this was one of the first bits of information I received on water and how it atomically dances. We'll go into that in a minute, but first we're going to the all around health page. And if you want to talk about water, I think it's apt to talk about surfing as well. And I've got a big post here on surfing. I'm going to actually make it into a book. So one day I'll write a book about why surfing is so healthy, and that's almost ready to go. I'm no doctor, but maybe you need a little more vitamin C and get into the ocean, and I do think pretty much everybody needs a little bit more vitamin C, SEA, going into the ocean. So we're just going down here to the water post. Here we are. So here's just something from the Japanese these days, their method of treatment for waking up and drinking water. A lot of people do this from around the world. This is just some Japanese write-up. As you wake in the morning before brushing teeth, drink 4 times 160 ml glass of water. Brush and clean the mouth, but do not eat or drink anything for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes you may eat and drink as normal. After 15 minutes of breakfast, lunch and dinner, do not eat or drink anything for 2 hours. Those who are old or sick and are unable to drink 4 glasses of water at the beginning may commence by taking little water and gradually increase it to 4 glasses per day. Well, I wake up and I have about just 1 glass, but I end up especially during a summer's day, I'll have at least, it ends up being about 2 1.5 litre bottles of tea. Not just plain water, but tea. And remember, when you mix anything with water, it's not water anymore. It becomes something else. The above method of treatment will cure diseases of the sick, and others can enjoy a healthy life. And it says here, it'll control, cure and reduce high blood pressure in 30 days, gastric upsets in 10 days, diabetes 30 days, they say. Constipation 10 days, cancer 180 days. Now, if you were doing it for cancer, you might also add the pH balancing bicarb soda, just 2 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons or something to the glass, and you might throw that in there now and then. I wouldn't put it in every single glass, but that'll help to balance the pH of your body. And remember, cancer can only thrive in an acidic environment. We've been shown that by people like Harvard University in the petri dish in vitro. So tuberculosis in 90 days, and arthritis patients should follow the above treatment only for 3 days in the first week, and from the second week onwards daily. Yeah, that'll wash you out. So anyway, down the bottom of that, hold on, let's have a look. So it says you might even get be aware of intense pain in the jawline, about heart attacks and stuff, and you can unclog yourself, and all sorts of stuff could happen from getting on a water diet. And guess what, people? I always say this in relevance to psychedelics, but you can overdose on water. You can overdose on water. Many people die every year from water intoxication. Look it up. Many people die from water intoxication every year. Not one person has ever died from cannabis use. So, big difference. Some people say cannabis is safer than water, and that might relate to how the human body, yeah, you know, your body has an endocannabinoid system. It's the whole system just built on cannabinoids that are in cannabis. Think about it. Does Tulsi have that? No. Does turmeric? No. Not even the avocado or the olive has. Okay, so the Journey of Water documentary. Anyway, before we go into that one, let's go down one more time to this girl, or this lady, because it just stuns me every time, because when I look around, no one else really looks like her at her age, so it's pretty stunning. Hold on, we're getting to it. There, Annette Larkins, yep. So she's 71, and I don't know, she looks like 40 to me. No meat, no dairy, just raw fruits and vegetables, 1 gallon of pure distilled water a day with an hour of exercise. Now, people say that's not the best idea, distilled water, because it pulls all the minerals from your body, because it's just pure H2O. It's pure water, and there's no contaminants in there. It's been osmosised, and you can buy those machines where they just do 1 drip at a time, and you can make your glass of water 1 drip at a time, but it's pure. Now, you might add things back to that, like Himalaya Soleil, to charge up the water and put it in the sun, and you can do all sorts of things to re-aliven the water, so to speak, or, I don't know, I guess manipulate the water to a better state for consumption for your human body. So, distilled water, be aware it can strip your body of minerals, but you know, a glass now and then I don't think is bad at all. It's pure water, it's going to do you good. Now let's just go back up to the water post. I just wanted to show that because, you know, firstly I guess clean air should be number 1, and then clean water is number 2 for your health, then salt, because you're basically an upright walking column of salt water. So, and that's way before any food enters the body, you know. If we're talking about health, well, we don't want to live in the middle of a city and be talking about health. If you're a doctor there living in the middle of the city, you know, and talking about health, you know, think about what you're doing. You haven't, you know, obviously got your little Geigers out and tested the what's it called, the acidity of the soil near you, the amount of radiation in the air, the amount of radioactive iodine 133 that your thyroid's picking out of the air because you don't eat much seaweed and don't get your iodine. And we have Fukushima just littering radiation all over the world now. Yeah, your days of eating Pacific fish are over. Well, I'm switching to hemp oil, that's for sure. That's going to be partly or mainly my replacement for fish, hemp oil. Again, from the Cannabaceae family of plants. Cannabis. Anyway, so now here's a good one, and I put this one really as a must-watch, this video, distilled water versus filtered water versus bottled. The Journey of Water documentary, so I hope it's still active. Excellent. Now, no need to slap me with a copyright. Look, I'm doing full referencing. It's by this person's uploaded it. Distilled water, and you can see the guy who's in it, and look, presented by Rocky Mountain. So anyway, this guy he shows you in a laboratory. Presented by that person.
Many chemicals. This is a newspaper from Utah called Capital state government, the Utah State Seal. On the back of it, it says, making sure your water is safe. It's written about Eva Naminsky. She has a PhD in environmental engineering. She's over all 50 water treatment plants in the state of Utah. She says right here, we're learning about very resistant pathogens in water. They're very difficult to kill, so you need strong disinfectants. These chemicals may ultimately cause cancer over your lifetime. So the question becomes, would you rather have diarrhea today or cancer tomorrow? So who wants diarrhea?
So there's many points like that he makes, but
pretty good choice there.
I just want to show you the water he creates.
Faucets and think nothing about the journey that water was on. And it's a long, filthy journey because everywhere that water's been is where we walk. So everything that's on the bottom of your shoe is in your water, if you ever think about it that way. That's why when we put the light in tap water, it conducts electricity. There's 80,000 chemicals in our water, and
80,000.
We had 3 people and 100 dying with cancer. In that 100 years till now, we've developed 80,000 commercially produced chemicals. And right now, 1 in 4 people die with cancer, and 1 in 3 people get cancer, and the cancer rate is still rising. And if you think about chemicals in our life, we wash our hair with chemicals, we brush our teeth with chemicals, we wash our clothes with chemicals, we have chemicals on our food. We're a chemical society. The only thing that takes that out of our body is the water we drink. Water absorbs and cleans everything out of our body as it goes through our system. Distilled water is very different. It doesn't conduct any electricity. We know it's absolutely pure water. The journey that distilled water takes is way different.
So again, this was a really good video for me to watch. At some point he shows you all the crap in tap water and it's amazing. Anyway, here it is. I was going to say, suffice to say that you won't end up looking like Annette Larkins because the filthy water means you're cleaning yourself with a dirty cleaner. That's what I was going to say about the air as well. If we're breathing dirty air, you're cleaning yourself with dirty air as well. But water is very, very important, as we're going to discover throughout this video. Its ability to take on information and so on seems quite remarkable, like it's a living membrane of some sort, an intelligent living membrane. So let's just see if I can just get that to the end there. Okay, so he's holding tap water and you're about to see how dirty it is, but make sure you listen to what he says, because I agree with him there too.
And this represents the filth that's in our body, some of the spent vitamins and minerals, and all the filth that we get rid of every time we urinate. We'll put the same amount of filth in this bottle as we do the other one, but we'll just show you this one first. 12 drops of filth in this body. We'll put the cap on. As this water goes through your body, it goes up to your brain, through all of your organs, around your body. You'll see something happening to this water. As that water goes through your body, what's happening there? There's an accumulation of filth in that water, isn't there? You see that? When you piddle this water out, does it leave something in your body? It does, doesn't it? It isn't able to absorb, transport, eliminate the waste. Now this is distilled water in this body. We put 200 milliliters of water in this body. We're going to...
Okay, next we're going to look at a short video I made for YouTube. First, let's just finish this. What he's doing now is just putting the same amount of filthy drops into the distilled water.
This isn't magic or anything. This just shows you how well distilled water deals with filth. As that water goes through your body and through all your organs and up through your brain, it's actually able to absorb or transport, eliminate all the waste that's in your body. When you piddle this water out,
Look at that. So distilled water takes care of any filth in your body. So you might not want to drink a whole gallon of it a day. It seems to be working fine for Annette, but she looks 30 years younger than she's really meant to, so to speak. Well, in the frame of reference to the baby boomers and echo boomers. You know, but some people whinge about how distilled water means that it strips the minerals from your body. Well, that's why we take Himalaya Soleil. So if you're on say the SAD acronym diet or the standard American diet, then, and you know, you're not taking Himalaya Soleil, you don't eat your greens, you don't eat your veggies and fruits and whatever else, you don't take supplementations, whatever, you know, proper supplementation, not just pills, I mean medicinal plants, well, then maybe you'll strike up a problem after a while if you have distilled water continuously, because you've got no minerals. It's going to strip any last minerals in your body, and that's not the way to go. But for someone who's, like, you know, mineralized and healthy, distilled water every day even can be a very good thing, as we've seen, because we've got, what, 80,000 new toxins in the environment since World War I, and that's a lot of toxins to take care of, not to mention, you know, the methylation of your liver, what your liver has to do, and that's why we should be taking 2 beetroots a week. If you didn't see my video I shot on beetroots, that's the dose, 1 or 2 beetroots a week, and this gives methylation to your liver, and methyl groups are what your liver uses to break down all these toxins. So if you don't have any methyl there ready to go to break something down, your liver has to pass toxins on and say, oh, I can't handle that, and so you just get a build up, and then maybe you can drink some distilled water and help you clean them out. So there's, you know, water by itself is not the only strategy, so I just wanted to quickly add that in. You know, water is a cleaning strategy, also methylation of the liver like I just mentioned, and clean air. However, water is, in my opinion, the biggest one, just because it's so dirty, it's so intelligently like a membrane, and all the other stuff we're about to go into. All the above reasons and all the latter reasons as well. So anyway, here's a quick video I made on just water. I called it Water Xenoestrogen Attack. So, and then in this, because everyone seems to have a hard time believing anything I say because I look like a scraggly surfer, you know, these surface people, they judge people by their outer appearance like morons. No morons, please. I always have to explain myself, so I did actually find what I mentioned in that video. How many times does water dance? I've told this to many people, that water has a molecular dance or an atomic dance. The answer, about once every 6 picoseconds, or 160 billion times a second. I thought it was 60 billion, but it's 160 billion times a second. What happens? Well, you can read this article. Just type in, like I did, phys.org.com water dance, and these 2 first links will reveal it all to you. Basically, it's, let's just read here. Each water molecule's 2 chemical bonds connecting its 2 hydrogen atoms to its oxygen atom interacted with other water or perchlorate molecules forming hydrogen bonds. Now they're just basically dancing between their bonds. Okay, so 160 billion times a second. So let's watch the video before we watch my video quickly, so you know what I'm talking about in my video. And phys.org.com is my favourite.
Of water, an intricate molecular dance is underway. The loose, tentative network of hydrogen bonds holding water molecules together is forever shifting, with each molecule continually switching dance partners. This simulation, created by chemical physicist Michael Odelius at Stockholm University, reveals just how intricate the dance of water molecules can be. The hydrogen bonds break and then reform with an angular jump of about 50 degrees, and it turns out the molecules switch dance partners at a dizzying pace, about once every 6 picoseconds. That comes to about 160 billion times a second. This work helps researchers thoroughly understand water, the stuff that makes up more than half our bodies and covers 70% of the Earth's surface.
So, as you can see, water is a moving sort of membrane. It's oscillating. And you can, well, let's just quickly read this one paragraph here, but you can look into this article too. In all, water exhibits 66 known anomalies, including a strangely varying density, large heat capacity, and high surface tension. Contrary to other normal liquids which become increasingly denser as they get colder, water reaches its maximum density at about 4 degrees Celsius. Above and below this temperature, water is less dense. This is why, for example, lakes freeze from the surface down. Water has also an unusually large capacity to store heat, which stabilizes the temperature of the oceans, and a high surface tension, which allows insects to walk on water, and that Jesus lizard, droplets to form, and trees to transport water to great heights. Yeah, the surface tension would help the capillary action of the trees, but what I'm saying about capillary action is that it's an after effect, or a surface effect, and it's not the causality. You know, it's like how your mind is over matter when you open and close your hand. It's you doing that, your mind, you know, your soul mind, and it's beyond the brain. I'm saying the same thing with trees, that I like Nassim Haramein's comment on, you know, looking for consciousness in the brain is like looking for the radio presenter in the radio. So, like, it's a similar thing. We've got to start looking at capillary action like an effect, not a cause. Yeah, sure, it's like a cause of why the tree goes up. But what I'm saying is that there's a minded force behind that. You know, a more invisible, intangible, numinous workings or goings on. So anyway, let's move on to my video. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Benjamin Cowenberg, or Obi Ben Kownobi, and I'm a shaman. Can you tell? Alright, I'll give you a quick lowdown on water. It's in plastic, put it back. Don't buy that crap. Xenoestrogen attack. Water atomically dances 16 billion times per second, and I think it is also a fifth-dimensional plasmic membrane correlate. Organic levitational, top of the mountain spring water is the best. Tap water is for dead people who enjoy drinking their own feces. The shape of a filter, such as an egg shape, good, affects what the water is channeling in. If you put a crystal under pressure and wrap it in copper wire really tightly and place this in your water line, it will kill many pathogens and bacteria. Water is meant to clean you, not contain over 200 parts per million dissolved solids. All health begins with water, you human. In nature, the beginning of carbohydrate formation is spring water. Notice it is tightly strung and almost oily-like. That's because if its molecular chain length keeps going, you get carbohydrates, then saccharides and polysaccharides and oils. Your body is mostly made of water. That's Benjamin Cowlenberg from www.consciousazine.com.
Yeah, so I got that 16 billion times per second part wrong, but I knew it was well enough to throw in there at the time. I couldn't find the article. I was having trouble with a simple Google search. And yeah, I know that's some funny stuff I sometimes say. That made me laugh to myself, some of the stuff I say. Yeah, well, remember I'm a channel too. Things just come out. So, I'm going to pretty much take you through that, as I have already been doing, showing you, you don't want water with many parts per million, like 200 parts per million, like tap water would have more than that, and you don't want that because it's not an effective cleaner, which is one reason you are taking water by itself and not just drinking tea every day, because you just want water by itself sometimes. I wish I had access to distilled water. I can't access it right now. I can't afford a machine. Maybe I can go to the service station where they have those reverse osmosis machines, but I'm not keen. I want to buy a proper one. Anyway, so I'm going to take you through the rest of this. So the title of the video, Water Xenoestrogen Attack. Some people might be unfamiliar with what that means. So at the start I said, it's in plastic, put it back, don't buy that crap, xenoestrogen attack. So that line there is about xenoestrogens, which are, biphenyl A, acts on the brain as an estrogen. And as we know, stuff like anti-aromatization, which passion flower tea can have the effect of. Anti-aromatization is the process of your good hormones turning bad hormones, basically, with aging, or a lot of estrogen build-up. And you'll get this estrogen dominance in your brain, and it causes aging. And things like passion flower can stop that, the anti-aromatization. So when we know about things like aromatization and how estrogens can get out of balance, think about it now. All the biphenyl A, all the plastic in the environment acting as these xenoestrogens and causing what then? Connect the dots. When we connect the dots, what do we get? Well, it means that all these xenoestrogens are aging us, because they're everywhere. The plastic's everywhere, and if you're drinking from a plastic bottle, I encourage you to drink from a glass bottle for a while, and you'll notice the difference not only in your own body's vibration. You feel stronger, like glass, more than plastic. You don't feel as wobbly like plastic. That's the vibrational difference I get, and that's not pseudoscience, because what did I just take you through? I just took you through that water changes its position almost instantly to, our human second. A picosecond is like a nanosecond. It's quicker than one. It's quicker than that. So, the water is obviously picking up vibration, structure, so 6-dimensional structure, and everything, 7th-dimensional tunnel harmonics. It's a multi-dimensional being, in other words, and it's picking everything up. Okay, so how far in do I think health goes? I think health goes so far in as the way you carry energy in your root chakra ends up affecting the rings around your eyes. Anyway, remember how I made the stuff up on 16 billion times per second, and it's actually water dances 160 billion times, what was it, per picosecond. Well, yesterday someone said to me they were dyslexic, and I said, I made up a quote that I put on the Neuroscience Mania Man page, and I said, what if you're not dyslexic, but psychedelic? Anyway, let's And
you can also cook water, so you don't need to steep your tea at 100 degrees. 80, 70, that's fine. You're going to get plenty of stuff out.
that's just in the consciousazine playlist. Let's see what this one is. It's got Mr. Emoto as the favicon, so maybe he's in the video. Let's have a look.
It is very important to know that our bodies need organic minerals that come from food, fruits, vegetables, meats, and nuts. Through photosynthesis, Mother Nature uses water and the sun to naturally chelate these inorganic minerals into the body of the plant. Then when we consume them, our cells and tissues can accept them. We're going to go ahead and take a look at inorganic minerals in bottled water. We're first going to take a look at our tap water, which is running about 360 parts per million. We're going to go ahead and rinse this off each time. Now these bottled waters come from us from all over the world. People pay top dollar. We're going to go ahead and test this one here. This coming in at about 340 parts per million, which is about the same as our local tap water.
God.
This next one is coming in at over 430 parts per million.
Now that one looks like to be a calcium one, and if it is, calcium in the water is not a good thing. People might think, oh, that's going to make my bones strong. No. The calcium won't be converted into your bones, and actually what it will do, and many doctors are going to disagree with what I've just said already, but hopefully in the future they'll have figured it out. But I think I'm on the same idea as what I heard David Wolf first say. And he said, you know, this calcium helps to make this coral formation in your body, and it's all these oxalate diseases. And acetic acid can add to it. There's all sorts of factors, but I remember David Wolf was saying something about how arthritis, all arthritic symptoms, all of the different types of arthritis, it's coral. These little nanites, these really little microbes that have these little shells, it's exactly like a coral. And so I just wanted to put that in the video here, because a lot of people, you know, there's a calcium myth out there, and a lot of people won't have stumbled onto that myth yet. Actually, on this page, I have a post about the calcium myth. We went past it before. Let's have a look. This is the all-around health page in consciousazine. Calcium supplementation myth exposed. And actually, you know, in the countries of, like where my background is from, like Holland, Dutch, the Netherlands, you know, Finland and Sweden and Switzerland and etc. All these sort of northern Scandinavian countries have high osteoporosis rates due to, you know, for instance, Holland is known for its cheese making. That's not the only thing, but they have, you know, high milk consumption, etc. all this dairy consumption and all this was all done by our elders, you know, the baby boomers, echo boomers. I'm actually 29, I'm a Generation Y, and it is 2015. So all the older people, they always brought us up thinking, oh, you need calcium for strong bones, but actually it makes them brittle. So you don't want to be taking calcium supplements. It actually makes your bones more brittle. We need things like silica from celery, where you can buy that Orgona silica in the bottle and just drink it by the bottle. But yeah, we need silica and magnesium and phosphorus for our bones, not just this calcium. And apparently the calcium doesn't even get converted into the bones, and it makes our bones more brittle. It doesn't get converted into something good for our bones, like silica does. It makes it more malleable. Or if you drink apple cider vinegar instead of other vinegars, like white vinegar, you're getting malic acid instead of acetic acid. And malic acid, well, sounds like to me it's going to make you malleable. It's going to help at least. Anyway, so there's a calcium myth out there for you to look into at the same time as you look into this water. Let's go back up to the water post. There's actually 2 water posts. So anyway, this guy is showing you what we've just seen, that all these water bottles have high parts per million in them, and so when you're going for spring water, you're looking for low parts per million, under 200 parts per million spring water. That's going to be the best quality in the world water, out of any water. Spring water, you know, under 200 parts per million. Like, if you can find something with 50 parts per million, that's going to be the best water in the world. You know, it's getting there. It's near the best water that you can access. And I like the idea of getting spring water because the ground keeps it in underground aquifers in clay and stuff like that. So it's mineralized water that you're getting from very nice vibratory state that's sitting in underground aquifers, very nice, serene state, vibration and so on. As long as they're not fracking the area, pardon my French. If they're fracking the area up, or fucking the area up, then you might have some problems. Anyway, so as we can see, don't be fooled by advertising. Companies are not after your health. They're after their profits. I've said that on the Natural Remedies Guru page in consciousazine. So if you go up just to the main menu, you'll see Natural Remedies Guru amongst a lot of other pages. So let's delve further into explaining my little 5-minute video we saw before on water, which was like a summarization of water. So far we've pretty much covered you know, parts per million, xenoestrogen, you don't want to be drinking from plastic, distilled water we've covered, spring water. What else did I say in there? We'll go into Victor Schauberger's line that he says water is the start or beginning of carbohydrate formation in nature in a minute. We'll go into that at the end, I think, actually. But first I wanted to stick with this spring water section we're talking about here, I guess. So I learned about spring water a little bit, not fully. I've done my own research through Daniel Vitalis, which I think he talks good on it. He talk good. Listen him. Daniel Vitalis talks natural spring water and much more. Part 1 of 9. Watch all of them. They're good. And he's like a friend of David Wolf, and they're all talking at those longevity conferences. You can YouTube the Longevity Warehouse playlist and stuff. I've been watching hundreds of those videos. Vitalis on water from his home. Just more on spring water. So those 3, and as you can see, that's 1 of 9. So you know, it's like 10 minutes each. So there's another website. And Daniel Vitalis has set up a website, by the way, wherein you can put on their map where you found a spring water hole. so that other people can go visit that spring water hole that you've just found. And the idea is we all take care of all the spring water holes we visit, and we all become stewards of nature. So he's on the right track as well. That's my idea, that we're meant to be stewards of nature. It just seems obvious. And it's not my idea, these are the thoughts, not your thoughts, and that's why I'm against copyright. One ego cell keeping its thoughts that came through it from the rest of its body humanity. Here's Dr. Robert Kazar from Hawaii on water and hydration. He says that the #1 disease on the planet is dehydration. Now, judging from how much I see my friends and people I know drink water, I wouldn't hesitate to agree with him. I do think most people are dehydrated, and what's worse is they think drinking a can of Coca-Cola is hydration. So we've got a long way for some people to go, at least. Ionized water stored in plastic versus glass bottle. So when you ionize water, you can charge water, and which obviously makes your body conduct electricity better between your cells. So you can start to see how water is really life. Even in communication, we've shown how water is communicatory. It communicates, it moves, it's transmitting and receiving and absorbing information. So there's many layers to water. It's very complex, and as we read in that other article by Fizzorg, the 66 anomalies that we know of, they're the ones we know of. I call water a fifth-dimensional correlate, and you heard that in my video before. So why do I do that? Well, the fifth dimension is that dimension of the unpolarized sort of thick light. The seventh dimensional light is more like sound light, higher light, but and tunnel harmonics onto the sixth dimensional grid. But then the sixth dimensional grid, along with the eighth dimensional schematics and seventh dimensional tunnel harmonics and mathematics, arrange onto the fifth dimensional living membrane, living light membrane, and then energies become tangential and polarized in fourth dimensional emotivity and astral realm, and so on. And this is how reality downloads into your body. Your body is a third dimensional, sort of second dimensional thing made out of stuff, and it has a third dimensional reality. It is its own little reality and its own cell, and thus it has time. Time occurs from the encapsulation into third dimensionality. If we're not talking about circular time, which is sort of ninth dimensional, what this Terence McKenna discovered with his time wave zero, I think that's ninth dimensional time. Anyway, so there's many here, many links to look at. What's in your water, amazing water and sound experiment. Well, that one could be cool. Let's have a look. So as you can see, you know, there's lots to look into. We don't want to just buy everything on the shelf. This is not the go, because they're just cheating you. That scientist didn't have anything to gain. He just wanted to show us. Alright, now let's watch this. This is called Amazing Water and Sound Experiment 2. Oh, Black Cat. Wow. So as we can clearly see, there are more forces than gravity at work. So very interesting, hey? To me that falls under schematics. You know how we can bring matter to life via sound, and when you turn a certain sound on, like we've just seen with the water, if you put some sand on a speaker and turn it to a certain frequency, and all of that's, you know, you figure out what each frequency is going to look like in its six-dimensional geometric pattern, or in its geometric pattern. I don't know, it just seems to me to reverberate what I have thought for a number of years, that water is a fifth-dimensional correlate. It's like a fifth-dimensional reverberation or something at its idea base. You know, it acts how I suspect the fifth-dimensional light acts. Do you understand? That's how I'm saying that water is a fifth-dimensional correlate, because it acts, I think, and I suspect, how the fifth-dimensional light acts. You start with distilled water, you know, which is like unpolarized light, and then you can polarize it, and you can, as we've seen, give it informational standing, geometrical patterns, and everything. So here we go. Yes, this is what I wanted to get into. Let's just have a look at this website before we go on. Oh yeah, I wrote here, phew, that will slow, and that should be PH, as in a sigh of relief. Phew, that will slow water wars. Now, water wars is coming. I remember seeing a MarketWatch.com article on, you know, how we're going to give water, let alone feed 20 billion. Because in present system dynamics, we're not going to feed even 10 billion. We're not even feeding 7 billion properly. So, and there's all this connected to water wars. You know, it's not just going to be about food and food wars. There's going to be water wars. You know, so water is drying up under Africa, I know, and they're getting less and less water there in the underground water. Some companies are even, I hear in what is it, Colorado in America, Nestle is taking water from the river, and in Africa people take water. So you've got rich people just pretty much walking all over people without high economic status, and that's gonna only get worse. Like, we all know about the disparity between the gap between poor and rich, and how it's always widening. Well, it's going to happen with water, and it's going to be very severe, because you're going to be affected. You're in the system called humanity. It's a closed system. So if we just start running amok more and more, you're going to be affected more and more. So we need to you know, change our habits. We all know this. We're amidst the great sixth extinction, the animal holocaust, the ozone hole layers, the ocean acidification, the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, larvicides. It's all suicide. So we've got to You know, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to depopulate the Earth or something? Are we part of the elitist Agenda 21, as it's known, world depopulation? Well, I'm not. You know, we're walking the wrong way. I just see it in that sort of sense. Which way are you walking? Because it's about energy thrust. Which way are you thrusting your energy? Are you being apathetical and indifferent? In other words, do you even give a shit? Because if you don't give a shit, I guarantee you, your kid will be one of the ones drinking the filthy water, or drinking their own feces and piss and poo. And in America, apparently the #1 contaminant of the water supply, of tap water, is toilet paper. That's disgusting. Like I said in my video before water xenoestrogen attack, I said tap water is for dead people, zombified people who like to drink their own feces, which is poo and piss. So it's ridiculous what we're doing. I have said in another video, we need to get the shamans up the top of the mountains with the levitational mountain water, and I do think there is something to that idea of levitational spring water, which I've taken from David Wolfe, which I'm not sure if he took from somewhere else or he just put together himself, but it's a good idea. And we're not saying that necessarily every single mountain you know, needs to be radically altered into some water catchment scheme where no one can go walking on that mountain. It's not what I'm after. I'm after a more aqueous solution, pardon the pun, more of a malleable solution. Like, you can still go there, you can still go to the mountain, but it's basically an educatory solution where we educate people. The shamans work with the scientists up the top of the mountain. You know, people are educated in school about basic things like water rather than maths first and stuff, you know, and you say, oh, well, how will they figure out what water's dance means 160 billion times per picosecond, Ben, if we don't teach them math first? Well, intuitively, we use the word dance and they can just get the idea, oh, water moves. And then you say, yeah, it picks up information. And no math required. Did you notice that? It took me all of like one sentence to explain. So, I mean, I don't know, we've got to get around the square thinking, step outside the box. All of those analogies, all those great sayings that you've heard, I don't need to repeat them all. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm just repeating other people's work. It's because people don't research for themselves. Anyway, let's have a look. Oh yeah, so water wars will be happening, you know, in this next decade. It's basically already happening now because look what I'm doing here. I'm having to give this information out to increase your alkalinity of the water and how water dances and all this other stuff that I'm about to show you. So it's already a war of informational context, or as Alex Jones calls his war, the info war. You know, and that's really what we're waging here, an informational war. It's light against ignorance of darkness. So, anyway, I won't harp on. I think it's important to harp on about this stuff though, but I realise some people have short attention spans. Although they say I'm the one with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, sometimes it seems completely the opposite way. And that I'm actually attention dialed to higher dimensions. So anyway, what I was saying here is that they've discovered an ocean. There's water apparently under the ocean that's 100 times greater than what humanity has used since 1900. So there's a lot of fresh water under the ocean, down deeper into the earth, that's 100 times greater than what we've used so far. So apparently there is more water to come, and until we get that, there will be water wars. We can see that already because we've got people like me giving information across, like I've just been talking about. An info war, but then there's also those other people, the competition, what are they pushing? It's always important to note what the competition is pushing. They're pushing you bottles filled with 400 parts per million. They're pushing you crap. Xenoestrogen, highly toxic. It's got fluoride in it often. Fluoride spring waters, sodium fluoride, and all sorts of nasties that we don't, immediately realise are being pushed upon us by, well, the competition, my competition at least, all the corporates with their bottles. Anyway, let's have a look here, what this website is. Some company called Water Liberty Research, Adja Clarity Lab Tests and Hair Sample Tests. In 30-day human clinical study, Adja Clarity was found to reduce accumulated lead, mercury, arsenic and aluminium in the human body by an average of 42%. So it's just some other new technology by the looks of it that I wanted to put there. The same chemical that spilled into West Virginia, causing 300,000 people to go without water, Adja Clarity has been proven to take out 99.99% of it from water. So this product Adja looks good. Adja was found to trap nearly 100% of fluoride contaminants. So this Adja looks good. So there you go, you can read further into this. Looks like Adja is a good product so far. So it kills Escherichia coli, Enterobacter, Protus mirabilis, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa, 4 types of bacteria commonly presented in water. Adja was found to reduce chlorine contaminants by 100%. Looks like they've got all the papers there too. So there you go. Look into that one. Yep, looks good, eh? Well, it's something. Okay, now wanted to go into that thing that Victor Schauberger said. Now, firstly, before we go into that, we all know about Dr. Emoto. Now, that would be sticking with the structuring of water, how we can structure water with our intent, apparently, allegedly, according to Emoto. The monks sat there and they willed and intented their intent onto the water crystals and made the water crystals form differently. For instance, the vibration of love compared to fear. Now, I don't know, some people might say it's a bit pseudo-scientific and they might want to do their own tests, and I haven't seen independent tests, so I am suspicious. I'm not just going to say, oh great, it sounds awesome, good on you Dr. Emoto. It seems like it's falling into line with what we know, but it's possible that it's, a little bit hokey-pokey. I don't think so. I think it can be done. Maybe we're not just all as powerful as those monks. Okay, so you notice we went past these 2 links here on how to make your water more alkaline. Well, it can be as simple as just adding a little bit of lemon to your water, because lemon, yeah, it's acidic, but once it gets in the body it turns alkaline and becomes working alkaline for the body. So you can put a little bit of lemon, squeeze a little bit of lemon in your water. It'll also probably kill a few pathogens. Put some thyme in there while you're at it, because that's antibacterial, fungal and viral. Anyway, so there's 2 links there on how to increase the alkalinity of your water. And as I just noted, it doesn't have to be by a pH water machine. You can just, there's many other ways to do it. Just have a look into that. Now the next thing was from Victor Schauberger and Nassim Haramein. Let's go to Nassim's thing first, and I was just reading through it to see what I wanted to pick out of it, and I thought, oh yeah, space is not empty. this action, reaction, connection, and interconnection is creating a dynamic flow in the universe. Simply put, it could be thought of as the universe is dancing with energy. Now, we have been talking about how water dances as well, and how I think water is a fifth-dimensional correlate. It's like this membranic correlate, and that's what the fifth dimension acts like, a membrane. Now, Nassim Haramein, he always goes on about geometry. Now, yes, and I'm glad he is, but what I want to put over the top of all of his work and the idea of geometry itself is that dimensions create this dynamic flow he's talking about. The multi-dimensionality, which is our reality, or the segregated dimensions of oneness of physical creation. That's how I've nicknamed them. Now, when I say the sixth dimension is a sacred geometrical archetype of infinite design templates, and in that zone, dimensions are not just manifestations of light, they're worlds within worlds. There's also characters there, and you can depict actual geometries, like someone had to think into existence the phi spiral. And that's what I mean by these are not your thoughts, these are the thoughts. They come through bodies, just as through certain cultures came yoga, and then another culture came Taoist meditation, and different types of meditation from different cultures. So, reversing my spiel, simply put, it could be thought of as the universe is dancing with energy. Now, we've been talking about dancing of water and how I think it's a fifth dimensional correlate. Now, the fifth dimensional light is kind of what you see, but you don't see the sixth dimensional world. You'll see its reflection in the third dimensional reality and in second dimensional things, like the geometry of, for instance, the phi spiral, just as one geometrical instance, or the geometry of a mandala, which brings a certain code of so-called awakening, activation codes for our genetics. And music is built into our genetics. Check out the page in consciousazine.com called New Energy Wave Frequency Harmonics. It's in the music. I believe that the angels talk through us in vowels, not silly balls. Silly balls are for humans. The angels talk in vowels through the star beings, or stars, super-toroidal axiom reverberators, as an acronym that I made up. And, you know, the teachers of light spit this energy all over us, and the essentially the basis of astrology, that planets characterize and manage these energies, is sort of an eighth dimensional schematic reverberation. Now, that isn't the eighth dimension, how the planets are aligned. That's not the sixth dimension, that's not their geometry. The idea of how the planets are held in the cosmos and how the stars are held in their filaments of light, and why quasars are connected across billions of light years, is because the universe is its own body, and that geometry, that is not the sixth dimension, but the idea of the geometry which keeps the stars in their positions, in love, in their positions in the cosmos, hanging in love, is from the sixth dimension. So not the geometry itself, that's just a reflection of the idea that came from the sixth dimension, which is the sixth dimension of geometrical archetypy and infinite design templates. So this is what I have to get across to people, that the dimensions are not manifestations of light, they're not frequencies. You've heard all the hippies for so long say, oh, the dimensions are different frequencies. No, not exactly. They're more like worlds within worlds. So when we see how the stars are held up in the universe, what we're seeing is the reflection of that sixth dimensional geometry in the sixth dimension, the idea of the stars being held as they are held. So you don't actually get to see the sixth dimension. It's numinous, it's intangible, it's not phenomenous and physical and tangible, it's intangible. Now remember, Nikola Tesla said, the day science starts exploring and experimenting with the science of the invisible, will make more breakthroughs in 1 decade than in all previous centuries, because we're actually looking at cause, and that's what I'm all about. I always am telling people to look at cause, and that's a part of the eschaton here. We're finally being fed up with our own shit and deciding to make change and look into the problems because otherwise everyone will be dead soon after the 6th mass extinction. So we all know we're walking the wrong way now, and we're starting to look into it. Anyway, part of that is this whole getting past just seeing the world as a second dimensional thing, realizing that there are unseen forces acting upon seen things and seen forces. So I just wanted to say that because, for instance, we can't see water fully. Remember, we only know of 66, well that's a lot, but we know of 66 anomalies to do with water. What if there's 100? So we're missing some. We're missing like 40 more. 30, 40 more, So just, as a rough, just an idea. So we're delving into the science of the invisible these days as quantum physics and quantum mechanics has made its, arrival into the mainstream. It was once considered a bit kooky back 100 years ago. This idea of quantum physics and spooky action at a distance, like Einstein called it. So I'd like to say here the butterfly effect is more powerful than we ever imagined. I'd like to say the butterfly effect should be thought of as well in a higher dimensional effect. So when a 9th dimensional time wave is set oscillating, it's one little time wave that's going to change a whole bunch of stuff in the lower dimensions. The dimensions create down through the dimensions, reality is created. So anyhow, that was just something from Nassim Haramein, and it was this: gratitude for water. Water has a tetrahedral molecular configuration that resonates with the geometry of the fabric of the vacuum and is thermodynamically inversed. It is one of the only compounds that expands when cooled and contracts when heated. We create resonance together. And that was the link, I just had it out in front of you. So it's interesting to note here, he says we create resonance together. Because remember, water takes on information, so if you put it in your body, it's taking on your body's information and structure as well. And so why can't the monks intent their will like the Emoto shown work? Why not? I think Dr. Emoto might be onto something. So anyway, many people, this is from Victor Schauberger. Now he said, water is the beginning of carbohydrate formation in nature, and that's why water is like coming out of the spring, like oily almost and tightly bound. And for instance, when you walk across the room with a tap water glass full of water with just tap water, and say you put soap in it specifically, then you'll notice a huge difference between the oily togetherness of the spring water versus this tap water with all the parts per million in it. And then plus if you put soap in it especially, you'll notice that it'll fall out of the glass really quickly. It's like it's unbound and just not cohered or something, So there's something to it. This is more from Victor Schauberger, and he also used to talk about centripetal versus centrifugal motion, and I think it's stupid that today we're still exploding I mean, I think Victor Schauberger would be turning in his grave to think that we're still exploding little animals in cylinders. You know, oil is old animals, and we're just exploding their essence to make our cars drive. Big lunky bits of metal. I think in 1,000 years from now it'll be laughable. It'll be like how we picture a caveman with a club, and he clubs his woman and drags her into the cave. It'll be very similar how they'll look upon us, how our actions are very brutish and not very sly and not very tactile. Anyway, so most people spend over $1,000 a year on bottled water. Anyway, what I was getting at there was, you know, exploding versus inward force, so centrifugal versus centripetal, force, the going inward force or implosion. It just seems a bit silly when you can do cleaner explosions called implosions, you know. Anyway, so many people spend over $1,000 a year on bottled water for their families, unaware that the quality of the bottled water is regulated less than the tap water. Remember, we just saw that in a video too, by a completely different third party. So they had nothing to do with this website. This is Schauberger's website. But remember, we just saw that one of those bottles had a higher part per million, 430 I think it was, compared to the tap water, which was 300. So a bottled water was worse than the tap water in some regard, or regards plural. Yeah, and you know, that the parts per million isn't even taking into account the effects of the plastics, the biphenyl A's, which we've also talked about, so we can move on. Things like solvents, estrogen, THMs, TCEs, PCBs, lead, mercury, aluminium, copper. It should have both granular and block carbon layers if you're looking for a high quality filter. Most people don't realize filters remove only physical pollutants. Remember, we were just talking about the intangible versus tangible. So now we're about to learn about the intangible, sort of more intangible nature of water that we don't really see with our direct eye. You know, when you're looking at the stream, you'd be forgiven for not noticing this. You know, that water layers up and can be, well, what we're about to read. Most people don't realize that filters remove only physical pollutants, having no effect on the energy of those pollutants, which remains in the water. Large cities like Los Angeles, New York, London recycle their water many times. This multiplies the energy of chemicals such as estrogen and solvents, which are stored in the water's memory. These are quite as much a risk to health as the physical pollutants, and I agree. What he's saying there, the energy and the vibrations left in the water are as much a risk to health as the physical pollutants themselves, or the second dimensional objects. Of course, the higher dimensional energetics would play a role in health as well, of course. It just seems inferred by what I said before about the higher dimensions and the butterfly effect, if you were paying attention. Nature recycles or removes polluted energies in a stream. Sorry, before I go on, I just remembered that if you're looking for the MarketWatch.com article on water wars, I think the title was Water Wars by 2020, or How Can We Feed the World by 2020. Look for that in your search. It was the article was something about water wars and, you know, not being able to give everyone drinking water by 2020, which I don't know if you noticed is in 5 years from now. So it's upon us now. Okay, let me continue. Nature recycles or removes polluted energies in a stream by spiraling the water turbulently with a vortexial movement, cleansing the water's memory. Nature's secret weapon is the vortex. We can replicate this at home by vorticizing water. We can produce water that is alive. Now, a lot of you have heard about me say we want to cease death in, death out consumption and production and increase life in, life out consumption production. So this is one way in which we can do that by, like I said, having the shamans and the scientists work up the top of the mountain and the whole mountain, making sure that the environment's good, and, you know, the shaman can see into nature while the scientist can calculate it and do all the surface stuff. And, you know, obviously there'll be robots involved as well. Now we want to do that in all manners, but here is just one way, one paradigm, one domain in which that saying is very apt. The saying of, you know, let's decrease death in, death out and increase life in, life out. So for instance, if you're spraying your food with pesticides, you're creating a death thing happening there. It's death production in a way, right? Yeah, okay, you're creating food and that's good and people are getting fed for now, but we're trying to always work towards these future state ideals which pull us from the future, remember, and that's why we're not pushed from the past, we're pulled from the future via future state ideals, as I call them. Anyway, so here's just one domain where it's very apt, one paradigm where we really need to think about life in, life out, because water is, you know, life, as people call it, in our search for extraterrestrial life and through the cosmos and the planets, the planetoids. We're looking for humanoids. They say, you know, one of the main search criteria is, does the planet have water? So water is very coupled with life, and, you know, whether this is a perfect theory or not, it's just very evident. So it makes sense to, you know, look at this thing that seems to radically increase chance for life and try and enliven it itself. So let's continue. The spiraling of water without a vortex maintains its energy level but does not increase it. Stirring a body of water does the same, whereas water flowing in a pipe or as a still body loses energy. The public water supply is lifeless and polluted. It has had to be disinfected with chlorine. I'm not surprised that quite a few people on the Drink Living Water YouTube video blog wanted to know more about the term restructuring. So let's look into this. If the water is in a turbulent state, these layers multiply. So water prefers to flow as layers or strata rather than as streams. For only then can it perform its real role, that of absorbing energy from the quantum field. Now this is why I call it a fifth-dimensional correlate yet again. I think water does the same as the unpolarized fifth-dimensional light. The fifth-dimensional light absorbs the higher schematics and the higher tunnel harmonics and the higher geometry and whatever is, you know, in the 10th and 11th and 12th dimension too, all of that. So, you know, it's absorbing the higher dimensional energies, you could say. The fifth dimension is. And that's why I correlate it to water, because water seems to do a very, very synonymous thing. So let's continue. So water prefers to flow as layers or strata rather than as streams. So the purpose of this is to communicate nourishment and information that the organism's cells need for maintenance and for their evolution. Again, that correlates to the fifth dimensional living light membrane, because an organism's cells getting nourishment and information from the fifth dimensional water is exactly the same how, the fifth dimensional light of reality gives nourishment and information to the third dimensional cell. What do I mean? Well, the third dimension is not just a cross-section of the higher dimensions, it's its own reality. I think of the third dimension as a little bubble, and that's why this human cell is a perfect reverberation and example of what third dimensionality is. It's its own, remember, little being, your cell. Your cell has organelles, like your macro body has organs. Each cell in those organs has its own organs. Now that's a reverber-fractal pattern. It's reverberated and it's fractal. Now what I'm saying is third dimension is kind of like that. It's like its own little reality. Everything that affects the cell from the outside you could consider the higher dimensions. So now you understand even more what I mean. And this is perfectly written. The purpose of this is to communicate. The purpose of the water or the fifth dimensional light, if we're to correlate, is nourishment and information that the organism's cells or the third dimension need for maintenance and for their evolution. If you cut all the higher dimensions away from the third dimension and you just leave the bottom three dimensions, 1, 2 and 3, you've got the ground and plane of being, dimension 1, dimension 2, things made out of stuff, atoms and physical structure, and then the third dimension, which is like its own little reality, like you, a person, is its own cosmic idea, its own geometry. You've got you're multi-dimensional, so you are your own reality. And in the third dimension it manifests as you as a person doing and living and experiencing in a sort of finite structure known as the body. And that's why people say, oh, the body is third dimensional, the ego is, third dimensional and all that. So if you cut the higher dimensions off from the third dimension, you don't get evolution. It's like you've cut off everything from it. You cut off everything. So if we just took away the higher dimensions, left the world, it would sort of just become second dimensional frozen architecture and degrade into the ground and plane of being. Dimension 1. So water is the same, in my opinion, in the context of life. It's a membranic, informative, counterpart. So water is this counterpart, I'm looking for a better word. It's a delegate of vibrations in your environment. If the environment's polluted, then those terrible energies are going to make their way to you. Those rancid isotopies, the synthetics of our world, those 80,000 toxins released since World War I. If all this is in the environment, all this energy will get back to you if you drink that water. The water is just this counterpart. It's this correlates to fifth dimensional action, which is the action of being a membrane which alters, gets information from somewhere, passes it to somewhere else, a counterpart. Anyway, let's continue. Naturally flowing, spiraling water has well-developed layers. This is called structured water. If the water is in a turbulent state, these layers multiply. They act like the leaves of a battery to store memory. The water moving in a vortexual motion restructures these layers, deleting the stored information like deleting a magnetic tape. The vortex process both cleanses the layers and sensitizes them to receive only beneficial energies from the quantum field. So in other words, they're just saying that when you restructure the water, it can clear the memory. Water continuously seeks to be energy full. When it becomes mature water, until then it is non-discriminating, or, like I said about the fifth dimensional light, unpolarized, and can store harmful energies because it's non-discriminating. By vortexing, however, it will absorb only beneficial energies if you vortex it. If we leave our drinking water standing, it will deteriorate and might pick up undesirable energies. So as soon as water is not in its vortexual state, in its flux, yeah, I'm pausing for emphasis to correlate with the fifth dimension again, known as the vacuum to people like Nassim Haramein, by the looks of it. This flux, the vacuum. If we leave our drinking water standing, it will deteriorate and might pick up undesirable energies. This is why it needs to be spun or restructured regularly. And it's said between dimensions there are one-way flow valves. Anyway, the vortex draws in energy at the appropriate wavelength or level of consciousness, from the field. No, I would say no, from the higher dimensional aspects, right? See, we take an ambiguous word and we fill it with meaning, and that's how the universe concresses. Consciousness is being used as a concressive word right now, and it's going to be like a bridge to the other side of the actual information, what actually should be in these brackets, you know. So the vortex draws in energy at the appropriate wavelength or level from the field of infinite energy in space. So I'd say the seventh dimensional tunnel harmonics, the eighth dimensional schematics, code coordination, stuff like that. This energy field is the hierarchy of cosmic energies which nourish life, or the dimensions. The greater the power of the vortex, the higher the level in the quantum field that can be tapped. The greater the power of the vortex, the higher the level in the quantum field that can be tapped. Interesting. So the quantum field itself is what I think I'm referring to as the loop and warp of Webb, this fifth dimension, which, you know, correlates with string theory too. Exciting new research has found that extracellular water in the body is structured in a liquid crystalline matrix which makes instant communication possible across the whole organism. Let's read that part again. Exciting new research has found that extracellular, so outside of our cells, extracellular water in the body is structured in a liquid crystalline matrix. Now it says extracellular, outside of the cell, or outside of the third dimensionality, so there's another fifth dimensional reference. Do you see that one? I hope, because it's saying extracellular. Before I was saying, you know, the cell is a good way to sort of realize third dimensionality as zonal realities, and it's saying the water, or the fifth dimensional light, because that's what I'm correlating water to, in the body, so I don't know, the larger universal body or something, is structured in a liquid crystalline matrix. Now I'm saying that the fifth dimension is kind of like that. It creates this loop and warp of Webb, like string theory talks about, and it's the unpolarized crystalline matrix light. That's what the fifth dimensional light is, which makes instant communication, or telepathy, which is fifth dimensional too, instant communication possible across the whole organism. So in the fifth dimension, on a very physical, pragmatic level, that is where telepathy or understanding is, because every part, every, I don't know, granule of fifth dimensional light is in communication with the next granule and the next granule and all the other granules. And that's what the telepathy is. It's this knowing, you know, what's happening across the field. For a human to have telepathy with someone, it's just seeing their meaning. So in the fifth dimension, the meaning is telepathic. And it's the same with water. Because remember, I'm saying it's a fifth dimensional correlate. My name is Benjamin Kauenberg, the site creator of consciousazine.com. Some of the new quantum biologists have come to the conclusion that water must be the servant of cosmic purpose. Another fifth dimensional correlation, acting with a degree of consciousness to organize water, which in turn brings consciousness and order to organisms. Let's read that again. Some of the new quantum biologists have come to the conclusion that water must be the servant of cosmic purpose, acting with a degree, and what did we just talk about? Telepathy and meaning and purpose, acting with a degree of consciousness to organize water, which in turn brings consciousness and order to organisms. And that's exactly how it's a fifth dimensional correlate. It works in the same way as the fifth dimension. That the manner is reverberated, the manner in which it goes about its workings. And that's why I call it a fifth dimensional correlate. Some people find these concepts strange. They're the people I call the organic portals, the societally brainwashed, retarded, as they've rescinded their own evolution. I call that retarded. I don't think anyone in a wheelchair is retarded. I call normal people retarded by their own nature too. Anyway, some people find these concepts strange, the flatlanders, the zombies, because they aren't on the radar or mainstream science. Remember, the organic portal is part of a second dimensional hive mind. That's why when you look and you ask them some complex thing, there's like a glaze over their eyes and they're like, oh, what? And they're not there. They'll never come up with an answer of their own. Try to get one out of them and it's not going to be their own thinking at all, ever. And they're part of a second dimensional hive mind. You'll see a sort of buzz now and a glaze over the eyes. It's not a physical glaze, it's a metaphysical glaze. You have to be a seer to see it. In other words, an organic portal has no idea what I'm discussing right now, and they just think that's hoodoo. Hoodoo, voodoo, or schmoodoo. Anyway, they are part of the new science. What did I mention before about Nikola Tesla saying that the day we delve into non-physical science, we'll have more progress in a decade than all previous centuries of the surface science. You know, surface tinkering with the second dimensional and third dimensional relativity. Second dimensional objects and third dimensional relativity. There are two levels of science. Mainstream science studies detailed physical properties in depth, the organic portal way, but not interrelationships or their environment, and etc., I would put. Holistic science is concerned with the interdependence of all of life at the energetic level, and much more, I would add. This is not exactly the area of pseudoscience, but it's where the borders between pseudoscience and proper science, you know, what we know as a very pragmatic science, blur. And I don't think that's a terrible thing to think outside the box and be outside of the box in a holistic scientific mindset and methodology as well. So methodology and taxonomy of illusion. We already had Terence McKenna talk all about that sort of stuff. Anyway, life clearly has its own inbuilt order and purpose, otherwise there would be only chaos. What creates this order? For centuries many societies have believed the etheric to be the God field, the source of cosmic order and wisdom. This universal field that fills all of space is now recognized as the quantum or Higgs field, but mainstream scientists cannot agree on its purpose. So again, it's because we're looking at the object when we should be trying to figure out why, whence, how the object, you know? Not just looking at the object. It's kind of like a kid looking at a toy, just poking the toy, you know? That's our modern science. Well, I hope we move postmodern very soon. And I think we are. And quantum, you know, mechanics is that move. So not even the most hard-headed individual can really stay so hard-headed. If they're alive for the next 20 years, their hard-head will be dissolved. Anyway, mainstream science, you know, that's what I just was talking about too, while accepting what water is, you know, essential for life, tends to regard it in a reductionist term merely as a substance in which various chemical reactions take place. Now that's right, that's my viewpoint of all this as well, that the surface people are being blocks, and they're blocking the light of knowledge. They're blocking the light itself. Do you get why we call you a black alliance, which is always trying to make a harder, smaller, denser, less surreal, etc., slower reality? It's always reductionistic. I've talked about scientific reductionism before, which made everyone think I don't like science, which is just a stupid priori conclusion you made, and assumption jump. Good on you, but you were wrong. I love science, actually. All I'm talking about is how the surface organic portal type of people tend to use science as a reductionistic, it must be this way, it can't be your way because we have no evidence type of thing. And when they're using it like that, it's acting as a block for us to evolve, you know, and move beyond and move on and so on. On the other hand, holistic or quantum science has demonstrated water's role in communication between cells in the body, between organisms and other life forms. And then I've gone beyond that, beyond the quantum, post-threshold. The post-threshold regions are not very much dived into by the average person because they don't take enough psychedelics and they don't meditate enough. So missing those two things in your life, of course, you'll only ever see up until the threshold, but not beyond it. What lies beyond the threshold is nounominous, nounominosa, not phenomenous, not pragmatic, not tangible, the opposite of all that. So the nounominous, like an invisible idea, creates visible stuff. That's how the universe works. It's a multi-dimensional array of segregated dimensions in oneness. Anyway, so I hope I've given you much deeper insights into water today. There are other things for you to look into, remember, on this post. What's in your water, ionized water, Dr. Robert Kazar, Daniel Vitalis, and also, what did, let me see here, where is he? 1 second. I'm looking for a video by David Wolfe where he talks about water. Okay, so before we cease the video, Before I go, I just wanted to show you this video here. This is David Wolf on Ormus, and he's about to show you his big setup with water. Now this video is not here. This is a video that I've just recently found, and it's just David Wolf talking on Ormus, and towards the end of it, actually well around the middle by the look of it, he shows a water system that he's making.
Anyway, let's keep going. So then this is my bore trap system. Here's what it looks like now. We had to replace the entire system that was originally there and redo it. We got the spring water now. We got it properly picked up with a crystal. There's a crystal thing at the bottom that picks up the water. It runs it through the pump. We have shielded that pump as best as possible so it doesn't EMF the water. That immediately then runs through a spiral pipe, goes into the ground, zigzags up to the house, goes into another spiral pipe, then comes right to the side of the house over here to a spigot. We then run it through another spiral unit, which is right there, it's just out of this picture. That then runs into this bore trap, that bore trap, this bore trap, that bore trap, and finally that's the end product, and that's my egg, and that's aquaovo.ca. Aquaovo.ca. They got a hell of a product.
That's a good product.
That's a good product.
Aquaovo.com
or .ca, might be .com. Anyway, they're out of Montreal. What an amazing outfit. I did an event with them one time, and it was like one of the best purchases I've ever made. You could put on top of here this, boom, on that, just like that. So you get that egg energy with your water. This is that whole thing that Flanagan talked about in his book in 1970, Pyramid Power. It's been discussed by Victor Schauberger. You see it talked about in the Ormus circles, that the shape of an object determines the energies that it's channeling into itself. And the egg shape is self-evident, right? What does Mother Nature use for the energies of reproduction? The energies of storage, the energies of channeling, stem cell type of energies, all that. It's egg. So anyway.
If you're going to try the Coca-Cola thing, let me just offer you this. I don't think it's so much that you're blowing the ore off. You know how a blowtorch works.
Yep.
You're putting air under pressure. You're adding more oxygen to the plant.
Well, probably, unless some of you
are getting hotter than ultimately.
To you from cardiovascular. Up and up and up. And what's it?
Okay, so I just wanted to show that he has a really mad water setup. He's doing it fully as good as he can. He's having the best day ever, as he would say. And I wish I had a setup of water like he does there. So that's just a video you can watch for more information. There's also the post underneath is about, I think, the theory of Emoto and the water being structurally changed by telepathy, basically, or what they're calling telepathy here. Which, yeah, in some way is telekinesis, in my opinion, not telepathy. What they're talking about here, putting your intent onto water, that's telekinesis.